But I want to give Diane Reay, Professor Diane Reay from the University of Cambridge, a chance to act as discussant, which means that she's going to kind of make some comments on what we've heard from both of these speakers, and I'm hoping that she's going to throw out some challenges, the things that we might like to think about for the rest of the afternoon as well. So thank you, Diane.
I'm going to relate back to the UK context quite a lot. I want to start there saying that it's really refreshing to hear about such inspirational educational institutions, so thank you, Jorn and Ernst. They're very rare in the UK context. Both combine autonomous learning with creativity, innovation and collaboration, all qualities that have largely disappeared in UK schools and universities. We've heard how critical pedagogy and education are at the heart of Roskill University, and it sounds as if neoliberalism, although it's a growing influence, has not had such a pernicious impact on education in Denmark as it has in the UK. It strikes me that this is because universities like Roskill have been able to hold on to a very different value system and ethical framework to our market-driven, accountability-obsessed UK universities. I thought it was wonderful to hear that you can have a progressive educational model that has remained unchanged for 40 years. Look what happened to child-centred education and learning in the UK. It was stamped out in the 80s and 90s. But what we all know is that we learn best by discussing and doing, and the least by sitting and listening. When we develop both universities and schools, our starting point should be, as Ernst and Jorn have shown us, about what we know about how people learn. It's common knowledge that the best way to learn is by doing, by participating and being active in the process. When you teach others, you retain about 90% of the subject matter, in comparison to 50% if you discuss the subject, and only 30% if you're in a lecture and listening. Therefore, it's the teacher, not the student, who learns the most in traditional classroom teaching. And the classroom, and the way a learning situation is organised within it, is a strongly established concept all over the world. We tend to find just one teacher, one class, and one classroom, with the teacher standing in front of the students, giving his or her version of things. Yet, if we only hear one version, we risk a critical misunderstanding. If we only hear a single story about another culture, or even our own, we risk becoming ignorant, and ignorance is the route to intolerance and prejudice. Jorn's talk on Heller Up School, it becomes very clear that school vision, curriculum and pedagogy should be at the heart of school design. And we've singularly failed to do that in the UK. There were lots of open plan schools in the 1970s when I first started as a primary school teacher. But the design often lacked courage, the spaces were too small, they didn't have the right acoustics, and teachers were often too timid and defensive about their own space to allow the schools to work as collaborative, inclusive, open spaces. Both Roskill and Hellerup place enormous emphasis on project-based curriculum. Teamwork is at the heart of teaching and learning in both the school and the university. And it's also evident that freedom and autonomy have to be worked extremely hard for, that they're not easy options, but require rigorous planning and firm framing. Finally, what came out particularly in Jorn's talk is the importance of focusing on the whole person, not just the narrowly academic, which has become the main focus in UK education. So the two talks raised a number of questions for me. First, is there a key issue around differences in the fundamental aims and objectives of education in the two countries? Similarly, are there major differences in the philosophical and moral underpinnings of training for teachers and academics in Denmark and the UK? Also, was there a question of much broader issues, such as the difference between the Danish and the British psyche? And finally, a reservation and a concern regarding equality and social justice in both countries. Both these institutions, like Summerhill and our small number of progressive schools in the UK, are serving largely the most privileged in their societies. In 2015, in the UK, there's a growing gap between the curriculum offered to the upper and middle classes and that on offer to working class children. Earlier this month, the Royal Society found that the curriculum taught to children in poorer parts of Britain was significantly narrower than that taught in wealthier areas. And is this also a concern in the Danish context? Okay, I've left you 5 minutes for questions.